We're back, guys. Another great episode of Oversteer TV Online, the podcast, the world's longest name in podcasting. I'm Tony Castanera. Got my friend over here, Jeff Brown. Say hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
And I don't know what we're going to talk about, man. Nothing happened over this last weekend. It's probably one of the most boring weekends in motorsports of the year. What do you say?
I mean, did they even have races this past week?
Guys, excuse me. I'm battling a cold. I still got some phlegm and stuff like that. So if you hear me hawking up a loogie, I'll live. Don't worry.
It's a summer cold. Those are the worst.
Oh, yeah. So what do you say? We start in order?
Yeah, let's start with breakfast in Monaco.
Monaco. The most boring race that still is most entertaining there is.
Was there any passing in the race at all? Did anybody get passed?
There was one on-track pass for position in the race. And believe it or not, it was done by Lance Stroll.
He has never passed anybody in his entire Formula One career.
I don't know about that, but it's pretty low, the numbers. The cars in Formula One, they've gotten so big over the years that now Monaco is just, to me, Monaco is, you watch qualifying. That to me is the race, because first off, if you win pole, you're probably going to win the race. If you get second qualifying, you're probably going to come in second, which is exactly what happened. And that's amazing, seeing those cars fly through that track. But for racing, it's really no chance to pass on that track. And they tried, this year instead of the one mandatory pit stop for a tire change, they made a two pit stop mandatory. And that really backfired, because then some people just said, I'm just going to slow down and just cruise on in because nobody can pass me. And it just caused a big mess and everything.
Yeah.
It was,
So they're not going to do that again, huh?
I don't know what they're going to try next year. One thing that's good is next year with the new rules, the cars are going to be a little bit smaller. They're going to be shorter about.
It's the width of the car, not the length.
It's the width too.
The wideness is what makes it hard to pass.
Yeah. That's the thing. That Formula One cars have pretty much been as wide as they always been since the last 50 years. It's the length, and so when it comes to passing, when the guy's turning in front of you, he's blocking everything with the front end of his car. Where back in the day, you would be able to slip by. But yeah, those Formula One cars back in the 70s are just as wide, if not wider, than they are today. Monaco's not going anywhere. It's always going to be on it because it's glitz, it's glamour. It looks amazing on TV. Like I said, I get more excited for the qualifying, and I think most fans do also. That was amazing, the way they tear down that street. We've been having a lot of drivers been coming up with suggestions how to change the track. The problem is in Monaco, changing the track it's a street course. It's not that easy. You literally got to change the city. So we'll see how that goes. Saw the ratings. It got it on ESPN in the United States, at least. It got the highest rating of any Monaco Grand Prix in the history of Formula One. And 2.3 million for an early Sunday morning. That is not bad. In fact, only 3 races have been bigger in the United States. Formula One races have had more viewers, and those have been the Miami Grand Prix, the Miami Grand Prix, and the Miami Grand Prix.
Well, it is a better race, that's for sure.
Well, also the Miami Grand Prix is on in the afternoon. Yeah. Also in prime time, sports time on a Sunday in the United States, where in Monaco, most of our Formula One races are either overnight or early in the morning or super late. But Monaco's over. Now we got Indy.
Lunch in Indianapolis. Breakfast in Monaco, lunch in Indianapolis.
There were 2 Indianapolis 500s, if you ask me.
2.
The first half was a cluster. You know what? I saw some of the stupidest moves. McLaughlin, he spins out on the pace lap. Okay, he was one of the favorites to win, and he spins out on the pace lap. He's out of the race. you know. A bunch of other guys, everybody, and then they kept on talking about Kyle Larson, and he spins out all by himself, Mister I'm better than Verstappen. Uh, uh, the second half of the race, we're witnessing greatness. People watch IndyCar, watch Alex Palou. He is, I mean, his teammate Scott Dixon, and he's embarrassing Scott Dixon. He's won every race except so far this year, except one where he came in second. Okay,
well, he's having the single greatest IndyCar season of any driver of all time.
Probably. They got another race this weekend. The Detroit. He's been doing all the PR stuff and everything going around. So let's see if he's still got some energy for this weekend. But it's just like I'm watching with 20 laps to go, and you had Marcus Ericsson. He was leading the race. They come up to some back markers, and Ericsson couldn't pass him. And Palou said, as soon as I saw that, I go, if Ericsson doesn't pass these guys, he's lost the race. Palou's going to win. And Palou just went zip and just right on by. And like he goes, he did it smart. He didn't pass the back markers. They were fighting for their own position too, so why get involved with that? And all he's got to do is keep right behind them. And Marcus Ericsson had no place to go, and he just did it smart. Which comes to the other news from Indianapolis 500. Marcus Ericsson overnight lost $1 million.
Yeah.
He was they don't disqualify Indy; they just put you back in the back of the pack because they found something in tech. I mean, the same thing, pretty much something similar to what they find in Penske. Penske was the attenuator. They filled in some groove. This was something on an upright. They covered over something that they shouldn't have covered over. But second place was good for like $1.2 million in prize money.
Yeah.
He went all the way back to 31st. I mean, he gets about $100,000, and so literally he lost $1 million. Can you imagine waking up and find out you lost $1 million?
Now, does he get that million? Because in NASCAR, the prize money goes to the car owner.
In Indy, it's technically goes to the driver, okay. But they almost always have deals where and also the prize money isn't just all cash. A lot of it's you get a car, you get this. Yeah, other things.
Get a quart of milk.
Yeah. And so I think normally in IndyCar, the team gets 40% of the prize money. Then after taxes and stuff like that, it's still a healthy chunk of change for an afternoon's work. I take it.
It's more than an afternoon. It's like the entire month of May.
Pretty much. Yeah. So, but there's a lot of prize money. It's like I always joke about. Everybody talks the tradition of the milk, and I go drinking the milk for the winner. I go, that's not a tradition. They're paid to drink the milk. A few years ago, I knew it was $40,000. It's probably more. It's a thing, and it's in their contracts. They have to drink the milk. It's part of the sponsorship package for the Indy 500. You got to do that. It's like the ring from that company. You saw it with the winner circle. They gave him a ring, and the head of, I think it's Jostin's, the head of the company who makes the ring. He was right there to get a picture with him wearing the ring. All that stuff. That's all sponsorship. That's all paid for by other people. I'm talking too much. Go.
No, you're doing fine. I'm going to say that everybody enjoyed the weekend. It was a great weekend of racing, and everybody enjoyed it except one guy, Kyle Larson.
Oh God!
Spins out, crashes in the Indianapolis 500, kills that game, then goes to Charlotte, where he also crashes out of the race. So he basically didn't finish either race.
Right.
He wanted to finish and complete 1,100 miles.
Mm-hmm.
But no.
What do you think of that idea of doing both? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a smart move?
I don't think that it really hurts him. I think that he would have probably had the same result in Charlotte. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you I think that he would. It hurts him as far as trying to win the Indianapolis 500.
Mm-hmm.
I think he needs more time in those cars.
Right.
It's sort of like Marco Andretti. He only races one race
Yeah.
every year, Indianapolis 500, and he comes in and wrecks on lap two,
Yeah.
four or whatever. And he does that every year. Like if you want to win the Indianapolis 500, you have to be in those cars week in and week out. It's just like Hialeah Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
I never won at Hialeah Speedway until I went
Mm-hmm.
every single Saturday night,
Mm-hmm.
however many was 5 or 6 Saturday nights in a row, and that's when I finally won. So if you're not in that car every week, you're not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to happen for you.
Well, interesting. Ryan Hunter-Reay really had a shot of winning that Indianapolis 500. If it wasn't, and it wasn't his fault that he didn't. It was his pit crew who messed
Yeah.
up. Okay, so and he only races one race a year, also. But my thing with Kyle Larson isn't so much that Kyle Larson doing it, is the media, especially Fox. They kept on Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson. He's running 17th. Who cares? Okay, he's running, and I kind of feel bad for guys who run the series the whole season, and they're like running maybe 8th or 9th, and nobody's talking about them because they're not Kyle Larson, and you do have every team. All these guys have sponsors, and their sponsors want to see their cars on the TV. They want to see that their driver being talked about, and if everybody's talking about Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson, and nobody's talking about whoever else is out there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is Kyle Larson brought a lot of TV viewers to that race that might not have watched that race.
Yeah,
he brought the entire NASCAR fandom in there because they wanted to see Kyle Larson, which maybe half of them would have watched it otherwise.
True, because IndyCar, for only the third time in the last 30 years, got more people watch Indy 500 than people watch the Daytona 500.
And that was because of Kyle Larson.
Probably.
So that's a two-way street with the sponsors. They want their driver and car, TV time. They just doubled the amount of viewers. So that's a two-way street there.
My thing is always Indy 500 always gets incredible ratings. Last year they had like a little over 6 million people. This year they had a little over 7 million people. Great ratings. They went up. Next week, it always happens. Nobody watches.
Right.
Okay, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Indy 500 has turned into the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a time when you were young, when I were young, when you'd watch like the local news and they'd show you the horse racing results. Horse racing was big in this country. It'd be on TV all the time and everything. Now everybody watches the Kentucky Derby, and then as soon as they put those roses on the horse, everybody forgets about horse racing until next year. All right. And that's the same thing with IndyCar. Everybody watches the Indy 500. Next week, I guarantee you they're going to get less than a quarter of the ratings they got for the 500.
Yeah.
It's great for the 500, but for the series to grow, they got to start figuring out something. Anyway, NASCAR. What happened over there? I didn't see the race. By then, I was like, time to go to sleep.
Well, plus you had to have Prime.
Oh, that's right. Most
people have Prime because they order from Amazon. And then you get things cheaper if you have Prime and you order from Amazon.
Yeah,
that's like I had Prime because my daughter orders everything from Amazon, and I just put her code in and I watched, watched the race.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing sort of as Indy. They put all this emphasis on the race, and the first thing that happens is the drivers lose their mind and start wrecking. The crews, they have terrible pit stops because they're putting all this pressure on themselves. And it's I guess it would be the second biggest race of the year besides the Daytona 500.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's arguable. They also go to Indy, so you would either say the season-ending championship race or the Indy, whatever it is, Brickyard 400 would be in contention with the Coca-Cola 600 for being the second biggest race of the season for NASCAR.
Right.
And everybody wanted to see Kyle Larson win the Indy 500 and then come win the Coca-Cola 600, and he didn't finish either one of them.
Who did win? I forgot.
Who did win? That was our South Florida boy. What's his name? Oh, I'm blanking.
That's one thing about our show. You can't fault our preparation.
Well, let me read my notes. I don't have any notes.
Keep talking. Let me Google it.
What's wrong with going in circles?
Huh?
What's wrong with going in circles? I remember that with the commercial.
What's wrong with
I'll think of it here in a second. As soon as I quit trying to think of it. Chastain. I was thinking Chase. Yeah. Chastain. That's close enough.
Yeah, Chastain, Byron, and Briscoe. 1, 2, 3. Allmendinger came in fourth. How'd that happen?
Hey, it was a good race. I did enjoy it. It was a very good race, and Chastain came up and made that pass in the last few laps, and made it exciting. It was really a really good race, and of course, he busted a watermelon there on the start finish line after the race, because that's what he does. He's a watermelon farmer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
from Immokalee, Florida, which is South Florida. So he's a South Florida guy. So I was happy to see that.
He's from Immokalee?
Yes, he's from Immokalee.
Dude, have you ever been to Immokalee?
I have been to Immokalee.
That makes Belle Glade
look like
Immokalee makes Belle Glade look like Beverly Hills.
It's just agriculture. It's just fields, watermelon fields, and
that's true. He probably lives in one of those mansions outside of town, because the town of Immokalee, the actual city center. Oh man, holy! They have 5 roads and only 3 of them are paved.
I mean, you can get a really nice house in Immokalee.
Oh yeah.
And you're only a few miles from Fort Myers, so it's really not that bad,
I remember you go to Immokalee and there's a Seminole casino there, and that's beautiful. It's landscape. You're driving by that, you're going, oh, this ain't so bad. The next thing you know, it's just meth heads, crackheads. I mean, it's just
meth central.
Oh man, it was bad, Immokalee.
It was like Trump casinos in Atlantic City.
Oh no, no, not even close to Atlantic City. I mean, this is like, wow. Anyway, let me ask you something. We're talking about like Indy 500, some pit crews messed up a lot. NASCAR and a Coca-Cola 600. Are we getting to a point now where some teams are so big and so rich that they're hiring the best pit crews? Obviously, they're working the best, and that some of these other guys, I'm sure like an IndyCar and I know, and especially the 500, and I know some of the guys in NASCAR also, like Penske, Ganassi, those guys are together all year. They train. They have special trainers, special scientists that say, hey, hold the wrench like this instead of like this, and all that stuff like that. But some of the poorer teams,
they have their pit crew guys have like regular 9-to-5 jobs during the week. They can't just fly them in for the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I could see like some of these, maybe that's what happened with Ryan Ray, or maybe it happened with some of the other drivers in NASCAR. Cousin Billy Joe messed up. He dropped a lug nut, or he didn't all things that that's. So it's getting to be where even more so that the haves and the have-nots. You look at Indy and they always talk about all this great stuff here, but hey, unless you're driving a Penske's not even doing that good this year, but Penske, unless you're driving a Ganassi, an Andretti, or a McLaren, you really have no shot of winning. Kind of like in Formula One. If you're not driving a Red Bull or you're not driving a McLaren, maybe Mercedes might sneak in a win or two. Maybe Ferrari might. Who knows? But other than that, you really have no shot.
Well, that's what's good about NASCAR because Chastain, drives for Trackhouse Racing, which is a very small operation. I think, and he was able to win. So I get what you're saying, but I think NASCAR is kind of immune to that, because a lot of the pit crews from NASCAR are football guys that they played football in college. They were great players in college, but then they didn't get drafted for whatever reason to the NFL, didn't make it to the NFL, so they immediately go over and they're a jackman or a tire carrier on the NASCAR team, which is good. They're able to use their athleticism to make a living, but it also increases the athleticism of all the pit crews. So I think the reason that is the NASCAR pit crews don't have that problem is because there's all these football players that are trying to break in to the sport. Right. So they'll work for that small team to make a name for themselves to be picked up by a Penske or a Hendrick team or something. Right. So the smaller teams actually do have really good pit crews because of that fact.
Well, I shot my load with that one.
No, I agree with you though, because even in NASCAR, those teams are together, and you have individual guys, and in NASCAR, if the guy's going for a championship and he's on a big team, 4-car team, and his pit crew messes up in the playoffs, they just switch the pit crew with a whole nother, one of the other teams, and they come in with a brand new pit crew the next week.
Well, but it's always been the case in racing. We celebrate when a small team wins because it's so rare.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a reason why Penske, I don't know how many, over a dozen times he's won the Indy 500. Okay. Yeah. Why Ganassi and the Dixons won the championship, I don't know how many times. Look at Palau, 3 times in 4 years, and he's pretty much locked it up already this year. There's a reason why, Ferrari has, believe it or not, more championships than any other team in Formula One. And Formula One always seems to have that thing because all the teams spend money. They have dominance. Before Red Bull, Mercedes was dominant for years. Then all of a sudden, Red Bull sneaks up. They've been dominant. But Formula One is the same thing in that, it's rare for a poor team to come in there and win a championship. They might slip in something. Some weird thing might happen.
Ferrari, now I think we're about halfway through the Formula One season now?
About a third.
Do you think that Lewis Hamilton made a mistake by going to Ferrari?
No. He wasn't going to win the championship with Mercedes either.
George is doing pretty good in that Mercedes.
He's doing pretty good, but he might win a race this year if the other guys mess up. He wasn't going to, Hamilton wasn't going to win the championship with Mercedes.
He's not going to win it with Ferrari.
He ain't going to win with Ferrari either. But Hamilton's more than just a race car driver now. He's a movie producer. He is fashion line. He's a brand. Hamilton's a brand, and there's no bigger brands. If you're Lewis Hamilton, you're now you're with Ferrari. You know how much crap Ferrari sold because of Lewis Hamilton, and I'm into watches. When he was at Mercedes, the watch brand was IWC. Those are really nice luxury watches. Very nice, very interesting brand. He moves to Ferrari. An IWC costs a nice one $10,000 to $20,000. He went to Ferrari. Their watch sponsor is Richard Mille. he walks into the track wearing a watch that costs $250,000. Okay. The salary he's getting, the money he's getting, plus all the other side sponsorships. And literally, that Formula One movie that's coming out, which I'm calling Driven 2. And if you've ever seen Driven, you know what I'm talking about. He's one of the producers for that movie. So he'll be walking the red carpet with that stuff. He's a brand, and they say you're not a real Formula One legend unless you've driven for Ferrari, and he's driving for Ferrari now.
Okay.
And he's got.
I still think he made a mistake.
Yeah, well, he could have, woulda. Then again, who knows? Maybe Mercedes didn't want him anymore because he was making a lot of money, and Mercedes going, well, we're not going to win the championship this year, so why are we going to waste money on this? We'll bring in the Antonelli, a young guy, pay him a lot less, and we'll develop him.
Yeah. Well, Mercedes and Red Bull made that mistake of putting their second drivers that are just doing terrible.
Yeah.
Which essentially has put them out of the constructors championship. They're not even close because of their second drivers.
Yeah.
Mercedes got the rookie, and Red Bull that should be doing better than he's doing.
They're already talking about
at least the two Ferraris are running up in the top 10 every week. To keep themselves in the chase there.
Yeah, and Mercedes is probably going to win. Not Mercedes. McLaren's going to win the Constructors' Championship unless something really bad happens to that team. The championship is probably going to go down between Piastri and Norris, and which could be interesting because that could still allow because Verstappen's still in second place in the points. Verstappen can still sneak in a championship because I could easily see Piastri and Norris battling each other and stealing points from each other. Eventually, if McLaren wants to win the championship, their boss has to go, okay, guys, call him in and pick a number one driver. Yeah. And I don't know if their contracts allow it, but after a while, you got to say, okay, you're number one, you're number two. If you got a chance to win, fine. But if not, this is the guy.
Well, I know Zach Brown has been really good about letting them race and not being, team orders. Mm-hmm. There, occasionally there's team orders for whatever reason, but usually if it's the two up front and they're battling it out, he lets them battle it out for,
he's saying he's letting them race. He's letting them race until they hit each other one race, and then they're not racing anymore. Because as great as winning the World Driving Championship is, Zach Brown wants to win the Manufacturers Championship because that's where the money is. Yeah. All the payout for Formula One, all that I think last year the champion got $180 million. That comes from winning the Manufacturers Championship. The World's Driving Championship pays zero. Okay. It pays money in prizes and sponsors and other stuff like that. But from actual purse, zero. It is the Formula One World Driving Manufacturing Championship. It's for manufacturers. Anyway, we're done. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
Oh, we got more races. We got Barcelona. We got Detroit. I don't know. NASCAR is driving around a circle somewhere. So, Jeff, good show. See you next week. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Come on, guys. Hit like, subscribe. Give us some questions. We'll talk about anything. All right.
Keep turning left.
Yep.
Unless you're Formula One, then you're turning right.
Then left and right and left and right and flicking the paddles. Oversteer TV online, the podcast bids you adieu.